Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, when we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And in today's episode, the topic is proof Montrezl Harrell was the major weakness on the Clippers last season. So that's the topic I want to get into in today's video. But before we get into that, I want you guys to please make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Also be on the lookout for our Dreamerspro Premium community, and also be on the lookout for Dreamerspro.com, which we're going to be working on. Anyway, so let me get into this video here. Okay, now this video, we talk about Montrezl Harrell here and there, right? This video was brought about by a quote that I read this morning, and then it just gave me the idea. Okay, let me do a video on this on this particular topic here. So let me get into it. So anyway, y'all know that Montrezl Harrell was a former Clipper, right? He played on the Clippers, and he played on that team for 3 years. He played with the Clippers for 3 years. And he had some good numbers. The last season of Montrezl Harrell, when he played with the Clippers, he won the Sixth Man of the Year. That season, he averaged 18.6 points per game, 7.1 rebounds, and 1.7 assists. And I think he shot something like, if I can pull it up here, if I can look at his numbers that season, he shot 58% from the field. He shot 66% from the free throw line, and he played about 27.8, let's say 28 minutes per game. So he played very well for the Clippers when he was, when that last year he was with the team, and he put up some good numbers, right? And he had a great year. He won the Sixth Man of the Year, which was pretty impressive. Although his running mate at the time, Lou Williams, was also in contention for the Sixth Man of the Year because he had won 3 Sixth Man of the Year awards. So these guys, they were on the same team, but Montrezl Harrell was able to win that award. And what I liked about Montrezl Harrell, which I still do like about Montrezl Harrell, was I liked his energy and I liked his intensity. If you watch Montrezl play, you can tell that he's a very passionate guy. He kind of has this kind of thing of a Kevin Garnett kind of thing about him. He's always, he's always dialed in. He's always emotional. When he dunks, you can see he gets really fired up. He goes at guys, which is something that I like about him because he seems tough. He seems gritty, and these are things that I liked. That I liked about him. You can see him and Lou Williams had major chemistry on the court when they used to play with each other. They would connect with a lot of lobs. If you've noticed, Lou Williams has been trying to kind of reconstruct that same type of chemistry that he had with Montrezl Harrell with Ivica Zubac, but it's not working as well with Ivica Zubac. So these guys had a great chemistry together on the court. Now, Montrezl Harrell had one major weakness, which is something that I was aware of and I pointed to last season. That was his size, right? For his position, although he's a power forward, he is 6'7", right? And he weighs about 240 pounds. But he's a 6'7" power forward. And for that height, you're a bit undermanned. I mean, you're a bit undersized. You don't have a lot of size at 6'7", considering the fact that you're going against other players. Like if you think of Anthony Davis, Anthony Davis is 6'11", right? 6'11", 6'10", 6'11". So these guys are much taller players. But I remember picking the Clippers to beat the Lakers if they were going to be in the playoffs for this specific reason, although I knew that Montrezl Harrell was going to be the primary defender on Anthony Davis, and that was because of his physicality. I felt that Montrezl Harrell would be able to rough up Anthony Davis because Anthony Davis is a finesse big. Right, he doesn't like to search for contact. He doesn't really like banging in the post. And given the fact of how fragile he seems to be, his body, this is no diss. This is just, this is not a diss on him. It just seems to be the case that he doesn't seem to be very durable. I can kind of understand why he doesn't like to get in the paint and bang with guys. Anthony Davis said he doesn't like playing the center. The centers take too much contact, so he likes to pick and pop. You see him shoot a lot of threes. You rarely see him go to the basket and search for contact. And I just felt with the physicality that the Clippers played with, especially Montrezl Harrell, he'll be able to bother him and take him out of his game, right? So that's what I thought. I basically thought he could rough him up. However, given the fact that Montrezl Harrell won the Sixth Man of the Year award, given the numbers I just read to you, had great numbers, great productivity in the regular season, we were waiting for a carryover in the playoffs. And what happened in the playoffs last season? You guys remember his numbers that he averaged. Now, the season before in the playoffs when he was with the Clippers, he averaged 18.3 points per game. He shot 73% from the field. He shot 69% from the free throw line. He got you 5.5 rebounds, 2.2 assists, and 0.7 blocks. Okay, given the fact that last season in the regular season he was a Sixth Man of the Year, you would expect that his productivity would have been similar in the playoffs. Last season in the playoffs, Montrezl Harrell totally disappeared. Him and Lou Williams, right? The bench that was scoring about 36 points per game with these two guys combined, close to 40 points per game if you consider everybody else coming off the bench, just completely just regressed. They didn't get better in the playoffs. In fact, they got much worse. Montrezl Harrell in the playoffs last year averaged 10 points per game, down 8 points from his regular season scoring. He averaged 57% from the field. He shot 60% from the free throw line. He got you 2.9 rebounds. 2.9 rebounds, 0.4 assists, and 0.5 in blocks. So Montrezl Harrell grossly underperformed in the playoffs. People talk about Paul George. Yeah, Paul George underperformed by one. I mean, if you look at his numbers, they were virtually the same, except his shooting, his field goal shooting was horrendous, and he scored 1 less point per game. Kawhi Leonard's numbers actually went up in the playoffs. So, yeah, points, rebounds, all of those things went up for Kawhi Leonard. So Kawhi Leonard got better, but the bench got worse. Montrezl, Lou Williams, Paul George, these guys got worse, and Kawhi was basically carrying that team. It just so happened that in that game 7, he just had he picked the worst time to have a bad game, which was in that game 7, and all those other guys were off and they lost, right? He had a horrible game 7 and they ended up losing. Now, why was Montrezl Harrell the major problem on the Clippers in that series? Because they were going up against Nikola Jokic, who's a 7-footer, a skilled 7-footer. They tried to rough him up and it just would not work. Nikola Jokic just completely torched Montrezl Harrell and Ivica Zubac. Basically, they were just like barbecue chicken for this dude. He completely picked them apart. They could do nothing with him. Ivica Zubac, although he had the size, he had no skill. He wasn't skilled enough to defend Nikola Jokic. Montrezl Harrell may have been skilled, but he was just too small. You couldn't put a 6'7" dude on a 7-footer and say, go guard him, somebody that's skilled. Ivica Zubac was always in foul trouble, and Montrezl Harrell, you could just shoot over him. He was just too small, and they couldn't do anything with him. It was one of the things that even Nick Wright pointed to. He said the Clippers have no size in the interior, and you saw that on full display when it went up against the Denver Nuggets, and it was just a bad matchup for them. The Lakers were able to do better with them because they had more size. They had better defenders to throw at him, like JaVale McGee, Anthony Davis, Dwight Howard. Clippers had none of that, and they lost. Now, this was a dead issue to me. I wasn't even thinking about it up until today. I recently heard a recent quote from after Montrezl Harrell was playing with the Clippers, because he's now playing with the Lakers, and he's having a good season with the Lakers. He's averaging 13.3 points per game, 6.3 rebounds, 1.1 assists coming off the bench. So he's having a good game with the Lakers. But I recently heard this quote from him, and this is the reason I decided to do this video. He said, after being questioned by Cam Brothers, he asked Montrezl Harrell about guarding larger players, and this is what Montrezl Harrell said. He said, "I don't really believe in that small stuff, man. Because at the end of the day, if you believe in that, the elephant will be the king of the jungle, and that ain't happening." What? You see, it's quotes like this that prove to me, or that show me some of the problems that the Clippers had last year. Last year, they just had some delusional guys, man. A lot of those guys on that Clippers team last season felt like, number one, as if they had already won the championship, which is delusional because you haven't. And number two, a lot of them felt like they were on the level of Kawhi Leonard. Paul George was walking around thinking he was Kawhi, and he wasn't. Kawhi was the only player on that team that could have the confidence to walk around and say, I'm the man, because he was the man. He's a 2-time NBA Finals MVP. He was fresh off an NBA championship. So he had a reason. There's evidence to show why he would feel a certain way about himself. But these guys had no reason. And I just find it perplexing that you would still come out and say something like that. I find it very hard to believe that you would get a similar quote from probably a Nicholas Batum or Serge Ibaka. I just find it hard to believe that. You can tell these Clippers had a reality check in the offseason, and you're never going to hear quotes like them from these guys. Needed to get humble, and this statement proves one of the reasons why they lost. These guys were just delusional. They weren't serious. There's no way you could have believed that, okay, the fact that I'm 6'7", I'm going to be able to guard a guy that's 3 or 4 inches taller than me. It's just not going to work. Right, and this is one of the reasons why the Clippers had to go out there and trade, or not trade. They let Montrezl Harrell walk and they decided to go get Serge Ibaka, who's an upgrade because he's a bigger guy. He's a bigger player that can guard bigs. He's a former, I think he led the league in shot blocking 3 times in the past. He's almost a 7 foot. He's 6'11". Put on his shoes. He's a 7 footer playing defense, giving them rim protection. That's what the Clippers needed, right? If they didn't need a big, they would have kept Montrezl Harrell. So for me, this is one of the reasons why that proves that Montrezl Harrell was one of the major weak links on that team. Now, there was also some other speculation as to why they needed to get him the hell up out of there, which was a bit strange that Kawhi Leonard's trainer called Montrezl Harrell a double agent. Now, that was a bit interesting, given the fact that Montrezl Harrell was a Clutch client. It was a Clutch Sports client, ended up going signing with the Lakers. So there was that kind of bubbling underneath the surface. But these particular quotes show you that, listen, you're just delusional. Right? You're just delusional. It's like when Nate Robinson got knocked out, I think it's by Jake Paul, and you come out there and you say, well, after you get knocked out, you come out and you say, oh man, skill and training got nothing to do with it. It's all about your heart. What? Like, what? Like, what? Like, it's just trying to overlook reality, right? Training, all of these things matter. And in this case, size matter because he's just a bigger guy. Simple and plain. Like, Shaq was eating dudes alive because Shaq, not only was he a 7 footer, he was just heavier than dudes. He was Shaq was like 350 pounds, man. So he would just put his shoulder into you and knock guys out of the way. Dikembe Mutombo was a defensive player of the year, and he went up against Shaq, and you saw what happened, man. He was eating him alive, man. So these quotes really proved to me that Montrezl Harrell was one of the major weak links on the Clippers. So what I want to know from you guys is, number 1, what do you think about his quotes? Number 2, what do you think about everything that I said in this video? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Again, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Again, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out the next video that we have coming up on the channel. Once again, this is Charles here from Dreamerspro. Wishing you guys an amazing day and catch you guys on the next episode. Peace.